Pardon the interruption, but I'm Pablo Torre, and it is International Space Day, Tony, so do you like gazing into space?
Tony Kornheiser, sure, as long as I don't have to look at Uranus. That's funny. Like, I know Wilbon would just go, but that's funny. That's funny.
More than funny, it's an honor. It's the whole reason, I believe, why my family came to America, is to be a Uranus joke for Tony Kornheiser on BTI. This is the dream. It's the dream.
Great.
That's inscribed on the Statue of Liberty.
American dream, huh?
That's right.
Yeah. Give me your poor, you're tired, your people gazing at Uranus. Welcome to BTI, boys and girls. Wilbon did a foreign fly this week, so here to co-host our 5th episode of the week is the host of the podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, Mr. Pablo Torre. And we begin today with the news that Greg Popovich will step down as head coach of the San Antonio Spurs and will concentrate on his duties as team president. Popovich, who is 76, suffered a mild stroke last November and stepped away from coaching then. Popovich has won 5 NBA titles and an Olympic gold medal. He's already in the Hall of Fame. Pablo, what is your reaction to this news?
That he is a singular character in the history of the NBA. He was the longest tenured coach, Tony, in 2020. He decided to coach 4 more years. He was somebody who saw every plausible change to the game by virtue of that longevity and adapted and thrived in each of them. He was a guy whose teams didn't shoot a lot of threes, and then they did. He was a guy whose teams weren't known for being the global hub of NBA basketball, and that's exactly what they became. He mastered load management to the consternation of the league office. He was somebody who knew how to court superstars until they got mad at him like Kawhi Leonard. He is a guy who has seen and done everything, and his coaching tree, as the last point here, I counted 91 branches, 23 of whom were head coaches in the NBA and WNBA. It is a run unlike any other. I don't know how anybody could aspire to replicate it.
So I have a more personal look at this than you do because Popovich and I are the same age, and I was hoping he would come back to coach. But I'm glad to see that he's going to assume this other role, and he's going to be working on a daily basis. I don't think anyone would be surprised that he stepped away at this point. He's been in San Antonio. I believe he went to San Antonio to be an assistant to my old camp counselor, Larry Brown, in 1988, and he stayed since. He has had Tim Duncan. He has had David Robinson. He has had Tony Parker. He has had Manu Ginobili. He's had Kawhi Leonard. He's won championships with all of them. He has Victor Wembanyama now, and everyone is predicting championships there as well. I mean, he's a great coach over a long period of time. I don't know what we're going to say, well, we'll never see his like again, because you always get in trouble when you say that about someone, because someone does come along, as we see all the time. But he's a very special coach there. There's talk that it could be a safe and good landing spot for Giannis Antetokounmpo to come to San Antonio. And if that were to happen, and he would go out there with Victor Wembanyama, you would say, where have I seen this before? Well, where you've seen it before is with David Robinson and Tim Duncan, and Greg Popovich won championships that way,
But I detect in your caveat there, we see figures like this happen all of the time. Never say there'll never be another one like you.
Right.
I detect in there a bit of just your own personal anxiety about yourself at this age, frankly, more than an actual argument as to why we might see anybody claim this level of longevity. Look, the thing I think about with Pop, Tony, that also reminds me of you just a bit here, at a certain point, he became so established and unimpeachable in his role that he could just say and do what he wanted. And so the only question was, when did he want to move upstairs? And so no one's surprised by this except for the people who thought that this guy needed to do this to wake up in the morning. And so Pop, the legacy, is as much about how long someone can do this, let alone whether they're allowed to do it.
And he earned every bit of it. He earned every hour that he worked there. Again, if we're the same age and I wonder about these same things, I would like to see him on the bench. That's all I'm saying. But this is fun.
I detected that too.
Yeah. We move now to the New York Knicks eliminating the Detroit Pistons from the playoffs last night by beating the Pistons in Detroit 116-113. The last frantic seconds of the game featured a go-ahead three by Jalen Brunson for the winner and a fumbled pass by Malik Beasley for the losers. Pablo, what stood out most to you about the final two possessions?
The clutchness of Jalen Brunson. And it is hard, again, in this topic, too, to go historical, to avoid the history, to not plumb the depths of your own assessment as an ancestral Knicks fan, because what do you possibly compare this to? So Malik Beasley in the first possession that we were looking at there, he fumbles. He is melted underneath the pressure and the spotlight, and Jalen Brunson does what, I don't know, we haven't seen since Clyde Frazier in getting better when the moment gets biggest. And so in terms of what Jalen Brunson is and what these Knicks are, they are the opposite of a team in Detroit that has lost yet another home playoff game. They're actually meeting the moment under tremendous, tremendous scrutiny. And that feels like, again, Clyde-ish, Clyde-esque.
Yeah. So that's the team of my youth. That's the greatest passing and shooting team I have ever seen in all the years that I've watched basketball. I'm not going to compare Brunson to Walt Frazier. You got a long way to go to be Walt Frazier. You got a long way to go to be Willis Reed. You got a long way to go to be Patrick Ewing, Bernard King. I mean, you got to win a championship. I mean, now they're in the second round. But what it looks like Jordan, in the game against Utah. That's what it looks like more than Walt Frazier. Yeah, more than Walt Frazier. I have a larger view of this that, if you'll indulge me for about 30 seconds, I am relieved that this thing ended in 6 games, not 7. I am relieved that it ended in Detroit and not New York, because if it goes back to New York for Game 7, and if the Knicks win there, then Detroit stands up and they say, what did you do to us? We justifiably think that you stole this series from us because at the end of Game 4, you didn't give us the foul call that you had to give us, that you said was a bad no call, because then we're down 1 and we get 3 foul shots and we win that game. So if they lose in 7 in New York, they can say to the NBA, you robbed us. But when they lose in 6 at home in Detroit, Pablo, I think that takes a little bit of the starch out of the argument. I also wanted to make sure of a quote by Malik Beasley here, which I'd written down as, I'm the best shooter in the world, and I felt like I should have gotten a shot off in the last possession. You're the what? You're the best shooter in the world? Well, first of all, if you're going to be the best shooter in the world, you have to catch the ball to shoot the ball. So you're not the best catcher in the world. This is the second time in a couple of days we've seen fumbles very late in the game that may have decided a series. Gary Trent Jr.
By the way, this series, yes, but this series, game to game, was a real wooden roller coaster, to make another New York reference.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like the wheels were going to fall off. It somehow got to be entertaining and exciting every single time. Meanwhile, by the way, as much scrutiny as we put on, Luka Doncic, Nico Harrison, and that, the Mavs had Jalen Brunson. They had the guy,
yes, they did.
Tone. And so, so I turn now, I suppose, logically, to the Lakers, who are out of the playoffs, and JJ Redick is sharing his thoughts on how to have a stronger run next season. Redick says the team needs to get into, quote, championship shape, adding, quote, and we have a ways to go as a roster. Certainly, there are individuals that were in phenomenal shape. There's certainly other ones who could have been in better shape, end quote. So, Tony, what do you read into that remark?
I mean, there's just no other way to read this except to step back and be amazed by it. And I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying Redick is wrong. Great teams are in great shape, but this is so directly used as an arrow into Luka Doncic's apparently too large hide. I mean, that's what this is about. Luka Doncic is not even under long-term contract with the Lakers, but there's nobody else on that team that anybody ever says is fat and out of shape. It's only Luka Doncic here. I mean, I know that JJ Redick has said he can do better as a coach. I thought he did a very good job in his first year as a coach, bringing them in third. A less good job in the playoffs where they went out rather meekly. And I think, I think that teams, to become a contender, you have to go through tight circumstances. You have to have a certain amount of disappointment. And I think it's the same for young coaches, tight circumstances and a certain amount of disappointment. So if he's taking some responsibility for that, that's fine. But I've come to the point, Pablo, and I think this was started by Nico Harrison, I've come to the point where I'm tired of the referendum on Luka Doncic's body. And it begins to feel like body shaming to me. Fat Luka took the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals last year. And so I mean, when do we stop? When does that target leave us?
Yeah, I don't know if it's leaving us. I appreciate your lack of appreciation for the unsubtlety of this. It is a bit like someone pointing out, hey, that episode of PTI today, the bald guy really could have played better, really could have had some more good points. And it's like, okay, I think we have a sense as to who they're targeting there as well. Look, JJ went all in on a strategy of we're playing our guys in the second half, and they're not going to sit for a second. And what he is reckoning with publicly is why, in his mind, his strategy didn't pay off. And so when it comes to what they really need, the other form of assistance comes in the good kind of size. It comes in the form of a guy like Mark Williams, who they had for like a night, and then they said in the light of day, we can't do this. It's too rich of a price. Yeah. But that's what they need. They were outgunned down low, and as much as it's losing weight, it's gaining size that they need.
I just point this out. If you're going to play 5 guys the entire second half, and then you're going to say that the team isn't really in shape, well, I assume you played the guys who were in shape because Luka played the entire second half. Why would you do that if he's not in shape? Let's take a break. Coming up, what's the best word to describe how the Warriors will be in tonight's Game 6 against the Rockets?
And how best to describe tomorrow's Kentucky Derby.
Are you a Derby guy? Do you like horse racing? I like horse racing.
I like a julep. I like an era when, people respected newspapers and horses. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have nostalgia for that.
That's good to know. Mint julep. Time to go word for word with Harvard's own. What's first?
In tonight's Game 6 against the Rockets, the Warriors will be blank.
So my word is defending. And I don't just mean, Pablo, I don't mean like on the court in a basketball sense defending. I mean defending their reputation and perhaps even, defending their legacy. Look, if they lose this game, their run is over. Now, their run may be over anyway, but this would be symbolic because they would have lost to a younger team, and that would put them over there somewhere. But if they win this game, these are the Warriors we've come to know and love. This is the old, wise Warriors team, and they're not actually done yet. They tanked Game 5 because discretion is the better part of valor. And they got to come all out, all in on this game. This game is their championship game.
Yeah, but that's why the Warriors will be throbbing. They'll be throbbing. And I say that because I saw that photo of Steph Curry's thumb in which there is a new ball attached to it. And the whole thing in games 4 and 5 is that the Warriors believe that the Rockets, those young, cunning Rockets, targeted it, fouled him hard on the thumb repeatedly. And then meanwhile, when it goes to the Jimmy Butler of it all, he's off standing in a corner somewhere limping around because, of course, he's Jimmy Butler and he too is old. And so when it comes to what the Warriors are going to be doing, it's going to be overcoming a physical disadvantage by way of, yes, as you put it, father time and the slow march of the flawed meat sack that is the human body.
So then I take it you think they are going to lose, whereas I think they're going to win tonight. I think they got the one last game. You think they're going to lose, right?
I think an injured Jimmy and an injured Steph is exactly what the Warriors would want to not happen to win a long series. And I watched those Rockets, man. Jalen Green's jumping everywhere. Alperen Şengün is, looking like he should have been yet another international star the Spurs drafted. Like, it's incredible. The Rockets are a really good young team. Intimidating.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Saturday's Kentucky Derby promises to be blank.
So my word is soggy. The forecast is it's going to rain all day in Churchill Downs, that it could rain as much as 2 inches in Churchill Downs. Sloppy conditions like that, they really hurt favorites and they really help long shots. I will give you the names of some of the horses that are being bet on to a large degree. One is Journalism, one is Sovereignty, one is Sandman, one is Admire Daytona, one is the Luxor Cafe. This was going to be the return, and it is the return of Bob Baffert, whose suspension was preposterously long. I mean, just ridiculously long. but one of his horses, Rodriguez, was scratched the other day. So my friend Eddie is going to bet Sovereignty. Kenny McPeak, who trained the winner in the Derby last year, is going to bet, thinks Sovereignty is going to win. The great Andy Beyer thinks journalism is going to win. I was a journalist for a long time, so I'm inclined to want journalism to win because there ain't journalism anymore. And my friend David, who was a journalist for a long time, suggested he doesn't care if journalism wins as long as he beats this one other horse in the field, Publisher. And that's a newspaper joke, and it's actually pretty funny, though only 3 people have gotten that. And let me thank you for not being Wilbon, because he would have dismissed this whole thing and just called it the horses and would have said, shut up with it already. When the fact is that more people will watch the Kentucky Derby, more people than will watch the NBA Finals. It's true fact.
Yeah, my main frustration with you is that my approach was going to be, it'll be ink-stained because I'm picking journalism.
Oh.
I'm picking
Ink-stained
journalism,
Reg.
but you sort of got to the whole thing. Look, I am too young for this, admittedly, but I love the idea that for 2 minutes, Tony, you get to feel like journalism is alive again. That the youth that you knew, the industry that I missed, can somehow be thriving. I do like indulging that fantasy.
It'll be great.
For 2
It'll
minutes.
be great. My grandsons will never understand what I did. They'll never understand the concept of
they have no idea
looking
what
at a newspaper.
ink is.
That's the final word. Let's take one last break. Still to come, the Clippers push the Nuggets to a Game 7.
And Mike Trout heads to the injured list once more.
Are you rooting for Golden State or are you rooting for Houston?
I'm rooting for Houston because Jalen Green, part Filipino. Did you know that?
Okay. Oh, okay.
Did a
Happy time, people. Happy 25th birthday, Jordan Travis. You may not remember the name. Travis was the Florida State quarterback who guided the Seminoles to an 11-0 record and the number 4 ranking 2 seasons ago. They were in line for a bid for the then 4-team college football playoff when Travis got carted off the field with a season-ending ankle injury. FSU used substitute quarterbacks to beat Florida and Louisville and finished the season 13-0. But because Travis was out, the selection committee bypassed the Seminoles and put Alabama, Michigan, Texas, and Washington into the playoff. FSU coach Mike Norvell screamed bloody murder, but to no avail. Travis was drafted by the Jets in 2024, but was not able to play physically and announced his retirement 2 days ago.
So Jordan Travis, for those keeping score at home, the all-time leader in total offense out of Florida State, also in touchdowns responsible for, I believe. But his legacy, truly, Tony, is as a cause. His name is so synonymous with this injustice that Florida State fans, if you talk to them for 5 seconds, will remind you very righteously about how they were done wrong.
Happy anniversary, Willie McCovey. This is posthumous, but around this day 45 years ago, the Giants' first baseman hit the 521st and last home run of his Hall of Fame career. So beloved in San Francisco was McCovey that the body of water just beyond right field was named McCovey Cove. And around this day 25 years ago, the Giants' Barry Bonds became the first player to hit a ball into McCovey Cove, a 3-run homer off Mets reliever Rich Rodriguez. When he retired, Bonds had 35 splash hits, more than anyone. One of the charms of watching a Giants home game is seeing the people in kayaks paddling around McCovey Cove, waiting for a home run to come their way that they can snare in a fishing net.
Yeah, I guess a bit of the through line in these last 2 happies is remembering somebody not for the stuff they actually did on the field, but splash hits. What a statistic. What a phenomenal statistic to describe one of the most miserable experiences, which is being in a little boat in the cold water of McCovey Cove.
Splash hit, like it. Happy trails to Game 6 for the Nuggets. The Clippers tied the series at home behind 27 points from Kawhi Leonard and 28 by James Harden. Harden had been largely ineffective in the Clippers' 2 losses leading into this game. In fact, this was the first elimination game Harden has won since 2020. He and the Clippers have another in front of them tomorrow night. Do you expect the Clippers will be able to count on him again, Pablo?
I think James Harden is a phenomenal player, and I would not trust him in these scenarios. Well, I guess I should have once, I believe you said, since 2020. So exception that proves the rule, I think. No thanks.
Now let's go to the big finish if we could. The New York Rangers hired Mike Sullivan as their next head coach. Is that a good fit?
I mean, the guy left the Penguins, won Stanley Cups in 2016 and 2017 with them. Yeah, we'll take it. The Oilers, Maple Leafs, and Golden Knights, meanwhile, all advanced last night. Which one are you happiest about?
Toronto. Original 16. Toronto. The Yankees moved Giancarlo Stanton to the 60-day injured list. Is that cause for concern?
This is the double tennis elbow thing, which may be related to the torpedo bat thing. So yes, quite. The Angels are putting Mike Trout on the injured list because of a bone bruise to his left knee. Your thoughts?
Look, it's not a tragedy. He's had a long career. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame and all of that. But injuries have short-circuited what might have been one of the greatest careers of all time. It makes me sad all the time. And he never, no playoff games really. 3 playoff games. Last one. Rockies are on a 2-game heater. Do I hear 3, Pablo?
They're facing the Giants in San Francisco. I hear a couple splash hits, and yes.
Splash hits, baby. We'll get some splash hits tonight. We're out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Pablo Torre. Thank you so much for watching. Pablo Torre Finds Out is my show. It's on YouTube and podcast stuff. But for now, your Sports Center. I forgot my song.
Nice tie, Pablo. Thank you.